All right, let's do number 77. So right triangle ABC is pictured below, and they give us angle A, 32 degrees, line segment or side AC, 8.2, and side AB is 10.6. So looking at the answers, you know it's either going to be sine, cosine, or tangent. So which sides are we looking at in relation to angle A? We're looking at the adjacent side and the hypotenuse. So which trig function talks about adjacent and hypotenuse? That's right, it's cosine. It's cosine. So cosine of angle A, or we know it's 32 degrees. So the cosine of 32 degrees equals adjacent, which is 8.2 over 10.6. But if I look here, they're not talking about that. The only cosine I see here is BC over 10.6. I don't see both numbers in the equation. So now it looks like every one of these answers has BC in it. Right? So I got to figure out BC in relation to either 10.6 or 8.2. So although that was correct, that's not what they're looking for. So you got to be careful, because sometimes they're looking for something that you're not looking at. So we can have a couple of things here. We can have BC over 10.6 would be the what? Opposite over hypotenuse, which is sine. So we can say sine of 32 equals BC over 10.6. Or if we don't use 10.6 and we use 8.2, that's the opposite over adjacent. That's tangent of 32 equals BC over 8.2. So which one of these do we see? Do I see sine of 32 equals BC over 10.6? No. Do I see tangent of 32 equals BC over 8.2? No. So now they're getting a little tricky here. So everything I looked at isn't working. So now where can we go? What can we do? We can give up and just guess, but I don't think we should do that. What other information can we find knowing that this angle is 32 and it's a right triangle? Well, we know that this angle can be what? 90 minus 32, which is 58 degrees. And if you look down here, there are some answers that have 58. They're actually the last two. So now let's make some trig functions with using 58. So now what do, and also BC, because you notice they all have BC. So we can say BC and 10.6. So that's adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's cosine. So cosine of 58 can equal BC over the hypotenuse, which is 10.6. Or we can say BC and 8.2, which is tangent of 58 equals opposite over adjacent, 8.2 over BC. So now let's see if either of those match. So we have cosine of, we don't have cosine of 58, so that's not going to be it. But we do have tangent of 58 equals 8.2 over BC, and that is C. It took us a while, but you have to explore all your options with the picture. Don't just think your answer is going to be with the information they give you. Remember, in geometry, you got to fill in as much information in that picture as possible and look at all the options. Don't give up if your answer that you first get isn't there. Try all your other options.